Hi everybody, I'm Diana. Welcome to this episode of my old farm garden. I'm going to take my glasses off for a moment because I'm fogging them up. It's a little warm here today. So in today's episode of my old farm garden, I want to share with you a little DIY project I did to create my own grow cart, and I'll tell you why I needed to do that here in a moment. And then also I have just a short wee little bit of footage on what my husband and I were doing out in the garden yesterday regarding the greenhouse before the tornadoes moved in. So let me just stop and say we live in northeastern central Illinois, and we're about 15 miles from Indiana. So for all you folks over in Indiana, Porter County, places like that, our hearts go out to you because we know you got hit by some tornadoes yesterday that passed through our area, but we were fortunate and didn't have any problems. We had a lot of rain. We were drenched by the time we got smart enough to come in out of the rain, it was extremely windy. So if I could have been taping while we were laying down the weed barrier for the greenhouse, it would have been a comedy of errors. But we're fine. In fact, we didn't even come in until the lightning and the thunder started, and that's when we came in. But to all of you in Indiana, we hope you all are doing okay. We know there was some terrible damage and some people did lose their lives, so our hearts go out to you. Alrighty, so you all know, if you've been watching my 2 videos so far, yeah, I'm just starting the Old Farm Garden channel here on YouTube. And can I just stop and say before anything else, thank you to all of you that have subscribed. I'm a little overwhelmed. I have another channel here on YouTube for my business called Build a Quilt. And that's like a whole nother animal in and of itself. But when I started this channel, it was simply to share my gardening journey with all of you. If there's anything that you get that helps you, that's great. If you want to share your own stories and your own comments and your own successes and fails with me here in the comments, I'd love to hear from you all. And I just want to thank you. I didn't think within just a couple of little videos I would have gotten over, I think we're well over 200 subscribers now. So thank you all so very much from the bottom of my heart. Alrighty, so if you've watched the other video, you know that I have started my seedlings in an AeroGarden grow deck that holds 23 seedlings. And this is the first time I've done the AeroGarden before, but it's the first time I've ever done seedling starting in them. Because of where we live, which is technically hardiness zone 5B/6A, our little part of Illinois, they're not quite sure if they want us in 5-6 or 6A. I don't care. Make up your minds, I guess, but I don't really care about that. Technically, to put our stuff out into our gardens before Mother's Day has been the old rule my whole entire life. Our last frost date runs anywhere from April 21st to the beginning of May. So although we've had 70-degree weather, 60-degree weather, we've had like in the 40s, 50s, and 60s even overnight, we still have several days on the foreseeable calendar from the Weather Service where we're going to get down to 29, 28 degrees. That, we all know, means frost. And so even though these things are going to go in our tunnel greenhouse, I'm a little concerned about putting seedlings and young plants out there right yet. I want to wait at least another good 3 weeks. So I think I was so excuse me. I was so happy about the idea of getting my garden started inside. I may have jumped the gun by a couple of weeks, but that's okay. We've made it work, as it were. So the seedlings did great, but last week they had gotten to the point where they were too big to continue in that AeroGarden seedling deck. Had they been smaller types of plants, they might have stayed in there longer. I have seen people, and even AeroGarden has said they've left their seedlings in those things for 40 days. If I left mine in there 40 days, I'd have mature plants, because I have broccoli that is already getting close to 5-6 inches high. So I needed to transplant them. And so last Thursday I did that. I made up my first batch of soil. I create my own organic soil every year, and I'll talk about that in a different video if you're interested, because the old farm here is technically an old homestead from the original Homestead Act, and it was eventually mass farmed. Lots of pesticide, herbicide, and stuff in the soil. And I know they say it goes away over time, but I prefer to make sure that I know exactly what's going on with my soil and create it myself. So I did that. I made soil, and I've been reading up on this idea of self-wicking pots. And I thought it was kind of a cool idea, because although I'm good about watering my plants, even after the years that I've played with gardening on and off, I am always concerned that I'm either overwatering or underwatering. I don't have, I guess, the confidence, even after all the farming I've done, to know whether or not I should be watering or not. It's just a little nervousness. I don't want to kill my plants. They're looking pretty, and I want them to do well and to flourish, and so we can have a good harvest. So I've been reading about these self-wicking plants, and I made some. Now, I didn't use these solo cups. Let me bring one of my little tomatoes. This is a San Marzano tomato. I grow a lot of San Marzanos and Romas because I make a lot of my own homemade sauces and things and freeze them throughout the year. So this red solo cup is only there in case my bamboo cups that I used end up giving out before I can get these out into the greenhouse. So I did bamboo cups. You can kind of see it in there. It fits in there. And yeah, you guys are ready for water today. I put a few leca clay balls in each one to kind of lift this cup up out of it a little bit. And then I got some cotton wicking, and I ran the wicking up through the bottom, put a few drain holes in this top cup, and made myself these little self-wicking pots. And they're working pretty doggone good. About the tomatoes, about every other day I have to give them water. Same with the broccoli, and I have a couple of marigolds in here. And some of them are every day. I check them every day. Sometimes it's every other day that I need to give them a little bit of water. So I made those, and then I got nervous that the bamboo is biodegradable, and because I wasn't quite sure how long they'd have to end up being in here, I went ahead and bought the solo cups, the party cups, as an extra protection. Think of my red solo cup as my tray instead of, but they don't have water in them or anything like that. So there we go. We'll put that one back. So Thursday I ended up transplanting. I have 21 seedlings in here now. And before I did all of that, I was really wondering how was I going to make a bigger grow light scenario. So there's all kinds of great racks with grow lights on them, and for folks that are serious, like flower farmers and serious gardeners that have like basements or heated greenhouses and places where they can start seedlings in that scenario, I'm jealous. I hope to get that way at some point, but I can't do that. I don't have the space in my home to do that. And so I was looking around. I was looking around for grow lights, figuring I have a kind of an island in my kitchen here that has a little like breakfast nook. So there is like this overhang where I could have like stuck lights up under there and put them on the floor, the plants on the floor, and kind of done that. But when I was mentioning that to my husband, he's like, "You're not putting grow lights under the breakfast bar." I'm like, "Okay, all right." So I kept looking, and I found these little lights that are they're super flat, like the thickness of a credit card. They're super thin, and they're just embedded with the red, white, and blue grow lights in them. So for the full daylight grow lights, I'm trying to get the instructions out here because I think that has a picture on it. And they were each 10 watts. So if I put two of them on a level, the plants would be getting the same amount of grow light, wattage, I guess, as the AeroGarden. And they were doing so good with the AeroGarden, I thought, well, let's not fix something that ain't broken, right? Alrighty, so you can see here how they look. They're kind of these flat little plates, and you just kind of plug them together, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. So the company that sells them shows this configuration. Let me get out of the way a little bit and bring this over. This is a rolling craft cart. You can get them at all the big craft stores. You can order them through Amazon. You might even have some place in your local community that sells them. I mean, pretty much you can find them almost anywhere anymore. And I have these for my other concern I told you about, build a quilt. But I wasn't using this one, and I thought, well, hey, I have one of these. If I just order the lights, will it work out? And so I came in here with cups and put them in here to make sure that I have enough space. So I thought, all right, let's order these lights. And the lights, you get 4 of the lights, and I think it was $20. So it wasn't really expensive. And it comes with the instructions. Now, you can do a couple of things. If you're going to place these lights under a shelf that is solid, they give you these sticky pads, double-sided sticky pads to use. Okay, I didn't want to use that. But because these rolling carts, the tray base is pierced where there's holes all through it. I wish I could show it to you, but there's really no way. They also send you what we know is a twist tie, but really long ones. They give you several of them, so you have more than plenty. And there are little holes on the edges of the lights, and you just put them up through the holes in the bottom of the cart and twist them on, and your light stays there. And I'm telling you, they're there really well. I mean, they're not going anywhere. And then they give you all of the wiring and instructions. And this one even has, let's see if I can turn this around so you can see it better. Maybe I should turn it this way. Okay. I guess you can't see it yet. There we go. It has a controller on it. I know you still can't see it very well. There's a controller on it that allows you to set your timer and set what level of light you want, 25, 75, and 100. I think for grow lights, set them at 100, and this plugs into the end of one of the lights. Now, for instructions, this was not difficult to put it together. Had I known more about how an electrical circuit should run in this scenario, I would have had it together in 15 minutes. It took me about 45 because I had to kind of trace out in my mind how this went, and that comes to our instructions. So the instructions do tell you, let me grab my glasses again. It does tell you on here, each little plate has a plus and a minus sign at the top and the bottom, and it does tell you how those should lay out so that the plus and minus and then plus and minus, that kind of thing. So you know that when you put this together, that's the order the plate should lay. And it tells you something else I thought was really nice. It says, if you plug it in and it doesn't work, you've connected it incorrectly. But don't worry, because you just unplug it, connect it correctly, turn it back on. You're not going to blow out the lights or ruin them. And I appreciated that, because the last thing I want to do is plug everything in incorrectly and end up wasting my money because I've just blown out all my little LEDs, right? So it does give you that information, which I found helpful. But let's go back to remembering the company advertised this setup. Nowhere in your instructions does it give you the layout for how to do the cords, how to connect them. So here's my tip for any of you that don't know any more about electrical stuff than I do. I mean, I understand how electricity works, but I'm not an electrician. I've never wired something myself. You want a closed loop by the time you're done. I might, if I ever have to order more of these, because I do have another cart, I'll do a whole video on how I wired them and put them together. It's not difficult. Just remember that by the time you're at the end, it's going to be a closed loop, and that you will have one that doesn't have anything plugged into it, okay? And you'll still have that closed loop. So just kind of follow it in your mind, or maybe draw it out in your mind to see how you have to do it. And I think what was confusing for me is I'm doing this on 2 different decks. And so this does show you a general layout if you're doing all 4 of them flat, but that doesn't quite help if you're doing them on the 2 decks. Anyway, I did get it together, and it did turn on the very first time. Yay me! So I did that, and I was kind of chuffed with myself. I was pretty proud that I did that. I even called my husband and said, hey, I just did something with electricity and it worked, and he thought that was funny. But that's how I created this, and it's great. I have 3, 6, 9, 12 of these scenarios on each deck. I don't have 12 down here because I didn't have 12, but 12 will fit on one level. And then up here at the top, you don't use that level because you can't put lights up there. So it's a nice place maybe to put spare grow cups, snips, whatever kind of little tools you want. And then the other thing I did is I cut down some cardboard boxes, because as you can probably see behind me, there's a lots of cardboard and stuff back there. Those are all things that still have to go out in the greenhouse when we get it finished. So I need it out of my house. So I just cut down some boxes and wrapped them in foil with the non-shiny side down. I didn't want it to reflect too much light, make it too hot or anything. So the shiny side down. And I put those in the bottoms of the decks just to give the cups something to sit on. And if there was any leakage, you know, it wouldn't get onto the lights all that easily. I would have probably time to find it, right? So that's what I did. And then I took these little clips that you see here. They're just little clips I think you get 6 of them. I got them at the Dollar Tree for $1.25. And they are holding all the excess wire up on here, because you need to remember to do that. If you don't, you're going to be tripping on the wire because there's a lot of excess wire. Now, here's my problem. My plants, since Thursday, it is now Monday, so that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're on our 4th day in this little unit, are already too big. I'm telling you, usually I lose some plants when I transplant. I've not lost a one. I had 100% germination in the AeroGarden setup, and 100% of them are still doing great, and I'm thrilled about that. But you can see here, here's one of my 4 broccolis I've got going. Look at how gorgeous it's doing. And it is already kissing the lights at the top here. They don't get hot, right, because they're LED, so I can put my hand there and touch it. But all these little, this is probably the smallest broccoli, and even it's getting almost too tall. It's like 5 to 6 inches tall to stay under here much longer. So I do have something else coming, because I'm going to have to put them in a tray on my countertop and like put a portable light above them or something, because they're just not going to hold out. But what I have in here, up here on this top deck, these are all San Marzano and Roma tomatoes. Then down here I have 4 of those lovely, lovely, lovely little broccolis. And then I have, this is one of my marigolds. These are looking great. The other one's even bigger. And then I have 3 down here, Chadwick cherry tomatoes. They're the little small poppable tomatoes. So that's what I have in here now. The reason they're too big is because your light should be 4 to 6 inches from your plant. And even now, my tomatoes are probably only like 3 inches from the lights. I'll leave those in there a little bit longer, but I need to get all these broccolis onto something where the light can be higher. Otherwise, I'm going to start getting leaf burn and stuff like that. And of course, I don't want that. The nice thing is, again, with this light setup, that there is, you can adjust how many hours you want the timer to be. It goes up to a 16-hour on cycle, which is what I use. So basically, when I move these from my AeroGarden seedling deck to this setup here, The only thing different for the plants were that they were now in their own growing environment in soil instead of just being in water. I did when I transplanted, and I always do this to kind of hedge my bets on the plants taking well, is I use a little mycorrhizal root stimulant, just a little bit. When I took, especially the tomatoes, I had roots this long already on them. They needed to be in their own little scenario. And they can be in these cup pot things for probably another 3 or 4 weeks, which is really all I need to get them in the greenhouse. And I think they'll be okay. So I will link below the link for this. I did get it from Amazon. So I will link that below. I think you can buy boxes. I just bought the box of 4. I think they might have had boxes that were more than that. But like I said, they were really just, you just plugged them together, but plugging them together in the right order was my trick. And after thinking about it for a while, I got it. So that is my rolling grow cart. And I like it because I can move it. I can, when the lights are off, I can move it over around to my sink and do the watering and roll it back, and it works out really good. I've been really happy with it. Maybe you will do it for yourself and you'll be happy with it too. I hope so. You can comment below if you want to say anything about it. Just remember, respectful comments. That's all I ask. Now, what's coming up next is our Sunday out in the back garden. We started at about 11 a.m. and we finished at about 2 p.m. because for at least 2.5 hours of that time, we were getting drenched with rain. Started out sprinkling on and off, and then kapow, the sky opened up. The wind was horrible all day long. We had gusts up to 70 miles an hour. But we did get the barrier, the weed barrier, and the wooden base outline of the greenhouse complete before it just, we were hoping to actually get the whole frame of the greenhouse up yesterday, because we would have worked through till about 6 or so, because the sun doesn't set till after 7 now. But the wind picked up really bad. The sky got really ugly. Lightning and thunder started, and we were like, no, it's not safe to be out here anymore. And we were literally drenched all the way through. Our clothes, my sun hat, our gloves, everything was that way. But during that time frame, I moved about between 800 and 900 pounds of brick pavers that were left over from when this house was originally landscaped. And I've decided I don't like them for the landscaping. We want to do some other things this year. And so these leftover ones, though, I'm going to use to make a pad. When you see the layout of the greenhouse, you'll notice there's like maybe 2 to 3 feet of weed barrier beyond the perimeter of the greenhouse itself. That's because I'm going to put pavers there and make like a pad, so I can put pots out there, things like that that I want to be out in that area. And of course we have more videos coming of the hilarity, I'm sure, of us putting this greenhouse together. But I'll walk you through during those, like exactly like what my husband did to make these as windproof as possible. We do live in the windiest part of Illinois. Our daily breeze here is 9 to 10 miles an hour. That's just average daily wind here. Storms for us to get up to 70-mile-an-hour gusts is not unusual here. So I will show you how he does this, and I will help as much as possible with that. I mean, we'll do it together, but he is a builder. He builds for our local theater group. He knows what he's doing, so I will just do what he tells me, but I'll try to video all of that and show you. And if anything else, you'll probably get a chuckle at watching us do that. All right, everybody, thanks so much for watching today. Again, thank you all so much for those of you that have subscribed. If you haven't subscribed and you found this interesting, informative, hilarious, whatever, please hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you a part of our old farm journey. Until next time, see you in the garden. Hi everybody, Diana here at Old Farm Garden. Well, today, even though it's raining, we're out working in the garden trying to get the greenhouse up, but I am moving some old pavers. We've pressure washed them. I'm stacking them here because I'm going to make a little paved area on the side of the greenhouse for pots and things. So each one of these are about 10 pounds each, and they're soaking wet. So I've moved about half of them so far. In total, there will be about 90 of them. And then we put out the weed barrier today, and Dave, my husband, hi honey.
Oh, hi.
Is right now putting the cedar boards. Yeah, they're wet, but you know, they're going to get wet eventually anyway. So you can kind of see it's kind of a crummy day, and it's just really a soft, beautiful spring rain, so we're good with that. But we are getting the base ready to put the greenhouse up, and I'm very excited about that. We use these staples, these garden staples. They went in super easy. We did one about every foot down the two long sides, well, around the whole perimeter really. So that is it so far. The next time you see it, hopefully we'll have part of the skeleton of the greenhouse up. Until next time, see you in the garden.